Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Ricky Resources. So today I'm going to talk to you guys about master's degrees. I recently found out that I was admitted into a master's degree program in business, which hopefully will begin in September. And some of you who are watching might be finishing your bachelor's degree soon. So I decided to do this video to talk a little bit about the pros and cons of taking a gap year between your bachelor's degree and your master's degree, as well as my experience of actually taking a gap year. So what are the pros and cons of taking a gap year? Let's talk about the cons first. One bad thing about gap years is people not really taking advantage of it. They end up sitting at home and not doing much, and that's horrible. If I look at a CV and I see a hole for a year with nothing to show for it, I'd be very worried. The thing is, it's not that hard to not do anything during your gap year. You can always get a job, you can do volunteering, you can work on a meaningful personal project, or even just take smaller courses. Whatever you do, just don't not do anything during your gap year. Another con on the gap year is the chances of it becoming a gap life? Basically what I mean is you end up not doing your master's degree at all. And there's always a small chance of that happening. For example, you finish your bachelor's degree and then you start working. All of a sudden you're earning money and you're more independent and you're thinking, maybe I don't need this master's degree after all. It's really easy to get caught up in that mentality and forget about the long term. In the end, you should always try and get your master's degree because it ups your game as you acquire more knowledge and it also makes you a more valuable employee. Last con I want to mention is not studying with your class. If you have a slightly harder time making friends compared to other people, I can imagine that you're going to have a tough time in your master's. Your bachelor's degree might have given you time for a couple of laughs and making friends, but your master's is something really serious. So bear that in mind if you're thinking of waiting a year. And now I'll talk about the pros. The first one is being able to rest your mind a little bit. I mean, after 3 or 4 years of hard mental work, I think you've earned some time for you to recharge your batteries. And maybe that's just what you need to make sure that you go into your master's with a fresh mind and ready to study. It might seem unimportant, but studying hard over long periods of time really does take a toll on your mind, so resting is super important. Another pro for taking a gap year is figuring out what you want to do. Taking a gap year is a great way of figuring that out. You can get a job in a certain area to see if you like it or not, and that can help you make up your mind. Maybe what you want is completely different from what you did in your bachelor's degree, so getting a master's degree in that instead is the best thing you can do for a career change. The last pro I want to mention is the experience you get during your gap year. If you get a job during your gap year, the experience you earn will give you a slight edge over other people. This is because you'll be able to apply what you learned to real-life situations more easily due to having worked and knowing what it's like out there. So these are a few pros and cons of taking a gap year. Now I'm going to talk about what it's actually like to take a gap year. So the first thing that you should know about me is that I'm definitely not a big fan of studying. It's not really something that I like to do, and by the end of my bachelor's degree, I was pretty drained. My feeling was that I've been studying for the last 7 years of my life. I only include high school and up because, let's face it, the rest is not really studying. And I wasn't really ready to take on what was probably going to be 2 career-defining years of doing a master's degree. On top of that, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. From what I saw around me, most of my friends were either doing a master's degree in human resources management, so further deepening their knowledge on HR, or doing a master's degree in broader things like business or economics. I also knew of some people that changed their field and did a master's degree in things like marketing or finance. So in the end, I decided that I needed some time off to clear my head, get some work experience, and figure out what I really wanted to do. And at the time, a lot of my friends said, be careful, you're gonna start earning money, and once you see that money coming in, it's gonna be really hard to stop. They also felt that it would be much easier for me to do my master's straight after my bachelor's because I still had that student life rhythm and that if I waited too long, I wouldn't want to do it. So in my head, I was like, well, I'm not going to take 4 or 5 years off. I'm only going to take 1 year, so I think I'm going to be okay. So yeah, almost 1 year later, here I am. So what happened in the past year? Well, for one thing, I was able to rest and clear my head. When you work, at least this is what happened at my job, you only work from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., so I never had to take my work home. And that was really good because I never had to stress about things at home and it really allowed me to rest better. While in university, sure, I would have more time for myself because I wouldn't have classes all day, but I would always have that constant nagging feeling that I should be studying, especially at the end of the semester. So in this sense, it was completely different. It also allowed me to see what it's actually like to work. Some people do internships during their degrees, but for me, it was the first time that I found myself in a professional setting like that, so it was really eye-opening in a lot of ways. For example, this might seem kind of dumb, but the idea I had about writing emails is completely different from what actually happens. And it's these small things that you only learn by actually being there and having some sort of work experience. In the end, this professional experience also helped me figure out what I wanted to do for my master's degree. If you've seen my previous videos, you probably already know this, but for the rest of you, my professional experience was as a recruiter for a recruiting company. At the time when I was looking for a job, I was already trying to steer away from recruiting because I never really saw myself doing that. But at the same time, it's what most people with a human resources management degree do. So after searching for a while, I came to the conclusion that there was no going around it and that I had to do recruitment, at least to see what it was like. And as it turns out, it wasn't really something that I saw myself doing in the long term. So lesson learned. So having that experience definitely impacted my choice when it came to choosing a master's degree. So in the end, should you take a gap year? Obviously, it depends on your situation. If you're 100% sure of what you want to do, go ahead. But if you're not, don't be afraid to take a year off and figure it out. To be honest, when I decided to take my gap year, I did feel a little freaked out because I saw everyone else doing a master's degree and I was thinking maybe I'm going to lose the train and I'm going to be stuck behind forever. But it ended up helping me a lot. And that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you liked it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Also, leave a comment saying whether you think gap years are a good thing or a bad thing. In the meantime, stay safe, wash your hands, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Ricky Resources.